I mean, is that another research question that the different capabilities of the virtual world? All I'm saying is, you've got to be careful that you scope this thing down. Because it can get so big, and there's so many variables that you'll never be able to get your hands around it. My advice to you is don't try to do too much in this. I mean, what I would do is I would pick one virtual environment with a certain set of capabilities and just hold that steady. Because really what you're trying to do is to compare the virtual world versus the web CD world, which is the face-to-face. Once you start messing around with this and all these different features, there's nothing comparable in your other worlds. The real world.
Like in the case of audio, you can, in the virtual world, you can either have it or not have it. In WebCT, you don't have it. Or maybe you can have it through Skype. You can have it through Skype. And then, imagine you're trying to model it when you don't have it. You're going to have a room full of people that can't talk to each other. You can't do that. Face to face, it's very hard to keep people from talking.
I'm just saying, don't try to do too much in this. And so you haven't even talked to us about how the different, just a little bit about how the different functionality in a virtual environment. That could be a whole different study in and of itself. I mean, to me, you're focusing on your end thing, which is, group collaboration. I would hold my environment the same. I wouldn't, do different things. And I would try to scope it down to no more than 2 tasks.
From the list you have on the page of those jumping in, the one that seems to be more generally applicable is the one that says verbal. Because that you have across all of those somehow.
The verbal communication.
Right. Okay. The others.
Try to,
Okay.
in line with this, the other danger of trying to do any kind of feature analysis of virtual world is that this is a moving target, and the features are going to continue to be changed. The thing that's really distinct about virtual world is the fact that it's 3D and you're dealing with avatars. They all have that feature. And just assume that, and then try to make them as comparable as possible. Make audio all the way across. Use audio in the blackboard and audio in the virtual world. And forget any other detailed features. That's somebody else. That's your PhD student's dissertation. Right now, it's just the lump thing of the distinguishing feature of virtual worlds is 3D and avatar interaction.
Okay, so
And you got 2 tasks. See, because you've introduced another independent variable in here. Easy task, difficult task. Because they may make a difference. I mean, there may be a different level of engagement and presence. So don't complicate, because as you know, the more of these independent variables that you add, the bigger your sample size is going to have to be.
okay, so if I'm hearing you, understanding you, you basically saying that when I have those hypotheses about how the different factors of virtual environments to get rid of that, just concentrate on the digital.
One environment, you pick what you think is the best features of this virtual environment, and that's going to be the environment that you're going to test.
Okay, so basically virtual wall versus e-learn versus Blackboard, which is the one we use
Right.
together.
Versus
And
face to
face-to-face.
face.
Okay.
Let me also just step back a moment and to say when you talk about sampling and all that, it's really not appropriate here to be talking about sampling fraction and like. You're doing an experimental design. There's no random sampling at all. You're not going to infer to the larger population here. You're working within your
Yeah, it's not
experimental
sampling,
group.
it's random assignment.
Yeah, exactly. There's a difference between
Yeah.
experimental randomization
Which-
and random assignment versus random sampling.
Which, remember, does not guarantee equivalence between the 4 sections. Okay? Are students randomly to be assigned to the 4 sections?
Well, they selected.
They select. So then it's your task to prove or disprove equivalence along different dimensions. Remember, we have talked about
We
that.
talked about that.
Without that, you don't have a dissertation, right? Because hopefully, just hopefully for you, they will not be too different.
Right, I mean, they'll be.
Even
they'll
at
be-
the gender side.
Right, gender, no difference in
Remember
gender,
that?
no difference in GPA, no difference in this immersion, if that's a psychological thing you're gonna
You
test.
see, for this purpose, you may want to be at the generous out of 10%, for example. Okay, just to avoid the hard.
Okay, so basically summarizing what you said is that random sampling is not appropriate, would be random assignment.
Well, and you're not even gonna get to do random assignment. It can be.
They do, students pick it up. You don't
Because
have
the
to.
students pick it up, what you're gonna have to do
For
is
them.
you're gonna have to gather the data that you think might negatively, or would cause some internal validity concerns, right? Because you want to be able to say, if you find results, that the results are based upon your treatment, not on the fact that all the women went into one class, and you know, women are smarter and they're more engaged, and therefore, of course, you know, of course, that's why they're going to perform better, not because of anything to do
That's
with
no hypothesis.
Hour left, you know, don't-
So anyway, I mean, so you have to think, I mean, it has to be gender, it
But
has
this
to
is
be
before the
GPA.
questionnaire, so.
Oh,
So you
absolutely.
can check those things before the classes start. Is there a possibility to reassign a few students if
Or
you
you-
find great
You know, or
imbalance?
you have to use them as, you have to use them as some sort of covariate.
Yeah, I need a clarification here. I understood that, yes, they're going to be into 4 sections, but it isn't that each section is going to do a different modality. You're going to do a random assignment within each of these sections to the 4 modalities.
I'm just gonna-
That causes problems.
That's what I understood. That's what I want to make sure, because you seem to be assuming that
Right, that's what
each
I
of the
That's what I
sections is going to
Right,
be
Yeah,
that's
different
what I
modality.
yeah. You can't do that, because there's too many
Between
effects.
them, there will be.
Yeah,
too
you got
much.
too many within subject effects. You gotta, these classes have to be totally separate.
Mhm.
And you know what, if you want to introduce all of the classes to this virtual world, you do it later in the class. Run your experiment in the beginning. You keep them totally separate.
So they can all be satisfied that they've been exposed at the end.
You know, and then
But the
once you're
experiment-
done and you've gathered all your data, you say, oh, you guys face to face, I'm going to introduce you to something different. But you really need to.
I'm not sure I understood, or if you understood what I was planning to do. What I'm planning to do is the face-to-face, one of the 4 randomly selected, then the other 3, I was going to pull them all because they were going to go into a virtual, online course, the online course, in which I'm going to, from those 3 randomly selecting a group that's going to go only to virtual